Good afternoon, everybody, from Universal Studios. If you might be a little bit of a scaredy-cat when it comes to Halloween Horror Nights, or maybe you're debating if it's an event that you want to go to. Maybe you see all this content online and you want to experience it, but at the same time, you're a little nervous. You might feel like you might get a little too spooked to attend the event. Today, I'm going to go over a few tips and tricks to kind of make the experience a little less frightening, and also things that you can do to definitely help out your experience for Halloween Horror Nights 2023. So I have been doing updates for you, and I do want to point out today, we do have, again, the lighting trusses over here. I think there's actually another set of lights underneath, and we do not have a medallion, but let me tell you something about today specifically. I'm guessing tomorrow is Wednesday. All of the big updates at Universal happen on Wednesdays and Thursdays for Halloween Horror Nights. And tonight, the park is closed at 7 p.m., which is the earliest I've seen it in a very long time. My guess is they could potentially be putting up the medallion, and they might be doing a lot of finishing touches inside of the parks. We will be doing an update for you guys on that. Again, we've been doing them all season long, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and like this video for me too, if you don't mind. We will be releasing update videos in the next few days because I know they're going to have some crazy updates. I want to talk to you about my very first tip. The first thing that I would do if I were you, and I might be a little bit more scared of attending the event, would be to start with the scare zones, and that's where we are right now. And this year, you really don't have any opportunity other than to get right involved with the scare zones. Sometimes it felt like you could almost navigate the park and dodge most of the scare zones by taking kind of a certain path. This year, you don't have a lot of room to kind of get away from them. So my biggest tip would definitely be start with the scare zones. And the reason I say that is you're going to be able to kind of get those jump scares, kind of getting your blood going, kind of feel what it feels like for that kind of situation. As you're moving through these scare zones, you're going to have scare actors that are coming out. They're trying to jump at you, trying to get a reaction out of you. Kind of just let it happen and kind of feel what it feels like. You know, get that first jump scare going and get the night started off on a good foot. The whole reason you're here is because it's a Halloween-based event, which means that you're here to get a little spooked anyway, and that's okay. And really, this is almost a two-part tip. And the reason I'm saying that is because this is the most common scare zone that I'll be able to point this out at. So this little facade here is on the sidewalk. When you are going through the scare zones, oftentimes if you hang out on the sidewalks, out on the outer banks, you typically aren't going to be hit with as many scares. They will still try and get you because they do kind of have free roam over their entire areas. The thing to keep in mind though is anybody that's inside of this scare zone shouldn't, at least this year might be a little different, but I don't think so, but they shouldn't be allowed to go to the next scare zone. So between scare zones, you kind of have a little bit of a breather, but my big tip would again be head to the outside, sit along the edges and kind of try and scoot along the walls. You could start to pick up on how the scare actors are approaching. You could see their footwork. I know it seems weird, but just kind of how they approach and how they plan on ultimately jumping out and getting you with that scare. Try and take this path here. The thing is, big objects will tend to be a location for scare actors to hide behind. So even though I'm walking here, there's still a good chance that a scare actor is definitely going to try and pop out and get you. But if you're on the outside and there's going to be a lot of people out here trying to avoid it, you might be able to kind of zip through and just get on to the next area. Now with that tip, I cannot reiterate enough to sit and look at the scare zones. Don't just go on to the next one. Spend some time. People watch. Watch other people get scared and then go ahead and get a laugh out of it. And then realize that when you get scared, somebody else might be laughing at you. And that's okay. That's the whole fun of it. Everybody is here getting just a little bit scared. They're all just a little bit anxious of what's happening inside of the scare zones. Another thing I would kind of point out with inside of these scare zones, and this will be the last thing kind of pertaining to them, would be to kind of watch some of these shows that they do. A lot of times when you're watching, you're kind of just enamored with everything happening on the stage. You just need to watch out though, because if you're sitting right here and watching the fire and whatever's happening on the stage, there's a good chance there's a scare actor no less than a foot and a half from your face waiting for you to turn and get you. So you have to be aware when you are watching these shows that people will be next to you. But observe the scare zones. They spend a lot of time inside of them to make them really feel unique. Now the next tip that I have for you would be exactly what you're doing right now, and that would be watch some content creators that do Halloween Horror Nights content. And the reason I say that is you're going to be able to see everything ahead of time. There are a select few channels that will have a media invite, and they'll actually give you walkthroughs of every single one of the houses this year. That would be your best bet for the houses, but if you want to see the scare zones and kind of see what's happening outside of just the houses, I would just check a number of other content creators' videos. You don't want to just watch one person because you want to see all perspectives. So make sure you're checking out a lot of channels, see what's going on inside of the park, watch as everything comes to life, see what has happened from point A to point Z. You can watch as these scare zones come to life, and then you can kind of appreciate what has been done inside of the scare zones. We are also right now inside of Jungle of Doom, a very hard scare zone to kind of dodge and sit on the edges, just because, again, a very, very busy scare zone here, very tight, and you don't really have the walk pass like you do in some of the other areas. However, like I said, watch some content creators. Again, go through all of my videos. Check out what the scare zones have looked like. Watch my opening night video. If you're coming for opening night, it might be a little harder, but if you're coming halfway through the season or any time after opening night, there will be a plethora of videos that you can go ahead and check out just in time before you start your Halloween Horror Nights experience. Again, things that we tend to cover out here will be updates. So as we're walking through these scare zones, you will start to see as these big boxes come in, some of these set pieces over here, and just like the shrubbery start to show up. Or just like we have on the other side over here, we have some rats, which, oh, I guess they covered them up. So that's gonna be an update for tomorrow's video. There were rats here that were hanging and being cooked. You'll be able to see these things and you can take advantage of the information that you're given. So you can say, you know what, this scare zone looks a little too crazy to me. Maybe I need to avoid it. And again, checking in on content throughout the season and figuring out what's going to work for you and what's not is going to be a huge step in the right direction to making sure that you're not too scared on opening night. Now again, the thing is, if you don't want to see the spoilers on some of these things, it's also going to be a little hard to kind of prepare yourself. If you don't want to see what the houses look like, it's going to be a little harder to kind of understand what's going to be inside of them and kind of prepare yourself. Also, I would recommend watching those videos 2, 3, 4 times so you can kind of really get a hang of where those scares are going to be coming from for the most part. I do have to tell you though, not every run through is the same. So you might get hit by some scare actors that weren't in the video that you saw, but at least if you're watching those videos a few times, you kind of have a feel for the layout of the house. And I think that's gonna help you out to kind of feel like, okay, I've got an idea of how this house layout is, and I can kind of maneuver myself through here and not feel totally lost and like I have no idea what's going on. Again, that's if you want to be spoiled on the houses though. Now this is a multifaceted tip, and I have to tell you that it is closed inside here right now because the park is getting ready to actually close down, which is super weird still to me. It would be go inside some of the restaurants and get some food. I know there are food booths around, but go ahead and just step inside. Number one, you're gonna get away from all the craziness and you're gonna be able to kind of just relax a little bit. Let your anxiety kind of simmer down. But the bigger thing here is you're getting some AC. It gets really hot here at Halloween Horror Nights. You have a lot of bodies moving around. Your internal temperature will go up because you are getting a little bit more scared. You're on edge a little bit more. So coming inside of some of these restaurants here and just sitting down for a little bit goes a long way. Make sure you get that AC. Make sure that you are kind of getting out of the crowds for a little bit. And again, give your body a break. You're not trying to do everything A to Z in 2 hours. You have the entire night ahead of you. So come inside, grab some AC, and let your mind and body relax. Here's a little bit of a secret tip that doesn't necessarily 100% apply, but it will definitely help you out more often than not. And that's going to be if you have an open drink or some food in your hands, a lot of times the scare actors inside of the scare zones aren't going to touch you. So you can kind of head inside of the middle of the scare zones. If you have open alcohol or something and you're walking around, they don't want to scare you, make you spill, because then there's obviously more liability that comes to Universal. So they tend to avoid you a little bit. I don't think it's a guarantee, but it's a little bit of a secret trick. So if you really, really, really want to, kind of just hold something in your hand like an open bottle of alcohol, or I guess whatever they are, the cups of alcohol technically. Also the sun is blaring in my face right now. But if you have some open alcohol, or again, like some food and you're holding it with 2 hands, a lot of times they won't really go after you because they don't want you to spill. If you are really nervous about it and you want to go like right down the middle of the scare zones, carry something like that around. I don't know about like a vitamin water like I have here. They might still try and get me. But if I have something I bought from one of the booths and I'm carrying it through, most times they tend to leave you alone a little bit. This is brand new to my channel, by the way. I have not shown this off yet, but this sign is here for the new nighttime show. I also see somebody looks to be observing something over there with maintenance, so they are putting together this show, but this comes to my next tip to go ahead and check out the show. Come over here to the Nightmare Fuel Revenge Dream. This is the third year they are doing the Nightmare Fuel series, but come check out the show. I will tell you, the show itself is not scary. It is a nice way to kind of get out of the heat again a little bit and just go enjoy a show for about 30 minutes or so. I will tell you, there are a lot of loud sounds in there. Sometimes there is actually like pyrotechnics and things like that. So it's not necessarily tame by any means, but at least it's a way to kind of get away from all the hecticness of people jumping in your face and making you try to pee your pants. Right now they're testing some pyrotechnics. Actually, let's see if we can go get a little closer. I'll try and show it to you. All right, let's see if they fire any more off. They might have just stopped. It was coming right through here though. Well, they literally just stopped the second that I went up there to record it for you. Either way, we saw some of the pyrotechnics flying out of the stage there, which is kind of cool again. You get to just like see as things are developing. No way did it just start back up. That's fine. Just come watch the show. This will be my priciest tip yet, and that's going to be to buy Express Pass. Now let me just explain to you why I feel like it's necessary. Obviously, you're not going to wait in those really long lines, but the reason behind it is what's most important. Number one, the longer that you sit in those lines, again, you're getting hotter and hotter. It's going to make the experience a little bit more on edge for you because you're going to be feeling kind of that heat with the whole crowd. A lot of people are talking. It's kind of crazy. And you could be in those lines for up to 2 to 3 hours sometimes, maybe even longer, depending on which house you go to. But the bigger thing is, the longer that you sit in those lines, the more that your brain starts to think, what's inside of this house? And you could start to really psych yourself out. If you have Express Pass, you're not waiting that long to get inside of the house, so you don't really have all that extra time to kind of prepare yourself. You just get in. It's kind of like roller coasters for some people. It's like they love them, but they get so amped up that they can almost psych themselves out of going on. So if you have Express, you'll get in line with pretty much, at most, what I feel like last year was like 30 minutes for a lot of those houses. You'll be on in no time, and then you're already in the house. You're full-blown committed at this point. So I think that could help out a little bit instead of sitting in that 2 or 3 hour long line like, oh man, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna be scared? What's inside of here? And your brain starts to go and go and go and go and go. But instead, if you have Express, you're in there in no time, and now you're just kind of already in it. So I know it is the priciest option of them, but I think it's probably one of the best things that you could buy here at HHN is just having that Express. Again, the heat will help out a ton. Getting through all of the houses will be super enjoyable. But the biggest thing is you're not gonna have enough time to overreact and let your brain start telling you what might happen inside. Instead, you're just gonna be already knee deep in it. Over here at Diagon Alley, this would have been any other year. The tip I would have told you is head over to Diagon Alley and just get out of the crowds again. That's a big theme for today, if you haven't noticed, is stepping away from the crowds. The longer that you sit in the crowds, the more that your mind can basically take over, and it's going to kind of freak you out. If you are a scaredy-cat, that's not a problem, but how you handle it is basically what's going to make or break your night. So stepping away from the crowds tends to be a good way to let your mind reset. I need to point out, this year, confirmed today, Diagon Alley will have the Death Eaters. I will point out they are not nearly as freaky as the scare zones, not even close in my opinion, but they're very interesting nonetheless. They've always been over at Hogsmeade, but this year they are doing them here at Diagon Alley, which kind of means nowhere is safe inside of the parks to an extent, right? Put a little asterisk on that. This will be my highest responsibility tip for you today, and that's why I'm looking at the bar over here, and that means if you are a drinker, maybe get a little bit of alcohol, not to the point that you get drunk, but maybe get a little bit of a buzz and kind of take that edge off. It might help you out. I'm not saying it will or won't. You know, it all depends on how you are as a drinker, but coming over here to the bar over here by Pier 41 might kind of help you out. Nicole has a good tip for us here today because I think she's noticed it, but what would be the tip that you would tell them?
I would say if you are afraid, don't let them know, because those who like run away screaming, they will chase you. So if you act casual, maybe you can like convince them you're not bothered by it. Otherwise, you're definitely a target.
Definitely. That is something that you will notice not only in the houses, but the scare zones as well. If you are screaming and giving them that interaction that they want, they are going to target you. If you don't let it faze you and you try to play the cool guy, that totally works too, and they'll probably leave you alone. They might kind of instigate to see if they can get something out of you. They're going to say, get that person, because they know that you're going to scream, you're going to make everybody laugh, you're going to kind of give them that entertainment that they are looking for as a scare actor. We do have the food booth here open. We'll be covering this in our updates for tomorrow or the day after, but we're not not covering it today. Also, we do have this, which again, not covering today, not covering today. Another tip I have for you here will be to go with the group if possible. I understand there are a lot of solo park goers out there and they always ask, like, am I going to be okay going to HHN alone? Yes, 100% yes, and do it because you will be able to have a great time regardless. However, if you are with a group, number one, people are always looking out, so they're gonna kind of give you a little heads up, watch here, watch here. If you have good friends, they'll kind of warn you too, and they'll be like, hey, avoid doing that, avoid going over there, there's people trying to jump out, whatever. If you have some kind of mediocre friends, maybe they're gonna let you get scared so that way they can get a good laugh out of you. Nicole has another tip for us here, and because she's been hit by this one, what would that tip be, Nicole?
I would definitely say, watch your surroundings. I've been looking down on my phone texting to look up to see a creature right in my face. And it's I should have looked up.
Multiple times I feel like that happened last year. I got some great laughs out of it. Sometimes I'll warn her, but most of the times I think I just let them get the laugh and the scare there because, again, it's entertaining. But that is definitely one of the better tips. Avoid being on your phone and looking at the ground, because if you're sitting like this as you're walking and you look up, there's a very, very good chance that somebody will be right in front of you looking to get you, or to your left or to your right. You don't realize it. When you're on your phone, you are very distracted. These scare actors are very good at picking up on that. And kind of following that theme of getting away from the crowds, over here at the Mummy is one good option. It is one of the rides that will be open during the event, and it would be to ride some rides. Men in Black is open, the Mummy is open, Rip Ride Rocket is open. Go ahead and do a ride. Number one, you're gonna have to wait in the queue for a little bit of time, and it's gonna kind of get your head out of that, again, scary space, but also you're just gonna be able to ride a ride, and who doesn't want to do rides here over at Universal? That would be, again, another small but quick tip here for you, and that would be to just get on some of the rides if you want to step away from the crowds. Check out the Tribute Store. This is one of the best things that you could do that isn't based on scares here at Halloween Horror Nights. Check out the merchandise inside of there. You could spend probably an hour inside of that shop just looking at everything that they offer, checking out how well they theme it. It is phenomenal. Make sure to stop here, and again, you're getting out of the crowds, you're getting the AC, repetitive, but take a stop here. I promise you, you will thank me later. It is so good. We have a walkthrough of last year's Tribute Store. We will have a walkthrough of this year's Tribute Store. It is worth it. I think the Tribute Store opens up here maybe next Tuesday or Wednesday for annual pass holders, I believe. So that video should be out right before HHN starts. If you want to be surprised, maybe skip that video. Otherwise, check out our video when we do that little AP preview of it. But again, one of the best things here at Halloween Horror Nights is that Tribute Store. Also, take a look really quick. We'll do updates on this, but I see some feet here, so we are correct. There's probably some sort of body under here. Again, updates will be out very, very soon, but definitely covering something up here underneath these tarps. My next tip, as we are just about out of them for you guys here, but the next one will be to have some sort of game plan. And I don't mean try and schedule your entire night out, because that's not gonna be fun either. But have an idea of what you might wanna do. One of the biggest things is not going across the parks over and over and over again, because the anxiety and the stress that you're gonna get of trying to do everything will be even worse than some of the anxiety that you might get from the scares, because you're gonna be like, I didn't get to do this thing yet, and the park closes in an hour. So making sure you have some sort of game plan will actually help you out to kind of reduce that stress from outside factors outside of the scares inside of the park. Again, trying to optimize your route, I think, will really help you out. Just so that way you're like, okay, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. We want to kind of get around here, grab a bite to eat, things like that. So having some sort of game plan, I think, is going to go a long way. Again, don't try and plan out your entire night from 6 to 2. It's not going to work. But if you have some sort of agenda, it'll definitely make it a little bit easier, and that's one less thing that you have to worry about for the night. So our very final tip for you, and this is actually the most important. I know I've said it twice now, but this is hands down the most important tip, specifically if you're going in to the haunted houses, and that's going to be wear some earplugs. I'm going to put my recommendation in the description below that I got from Amazon. Here's the big thing. You don't want to get the ones that are just kind of plugging up your ears. It actually makes it a little too dampened, and it's going to ruin the experience a little bit. You want to get some that kind of let a little bit of sound through, but it just takes down some of those high octaves or whatever it does. I don't really know, but it lets the sound in. It's just not as piercing to your ears. That has made the houses go from good and enjoyable to superb. just because you can actually experience the houses. You can take in all of the sounds and the actors and then the scenery, but instead of like feeling like the high-pitched noises or the loud music or the sounds that they use inside of the houses are just like destroying your eardrums, you actually get to just enjoy everything. So that would be my biggest tip for you, hands down. Wear earplugs inside of the houses. I promise you, it will help you out immensely. Again, it kind of takes that edge away too. Some of the scares are using such loud noises that it makes you jump. But with those earplugs, it's not nearly the same. People are not going to judge you. They will not, I promise. There are so many people that wear them, and it's very easy to just pop them in, take them out, and continue to move on. Buy yourself some earplugs. You do not have to get the ones that I link in the description. That's just the ones that I use. Do some research, pick the ones that fit you best, but I promise you that is the best thing that you can buy for Halloween Horror Nights. Now that was a lot of information for you guys today, so hopefully that will really help you out though if you are a little bit scared of attending this event. Some of the biggest things I want you to take away from this video today, number one, like I just mentioned, buy yourself some earplugs. Do it. It is the best thing that you can do for the event to really dampen the sounds, to make it a lot more tolerable. And then also checking out some of these videos like you're doing right now. Those are really the top two things I feel like. Watching what people see inside of the event so that way you're prepared. The only way that you can truly get prepared for this event is watching people's content to show you what it's like inside of the event. If you don't want to be spoiled, well then obviously that's something you can't really do. But if you are okay seeing some of these scares, seeing some of these houses, check them out ahead of time. It will help out immensely. Earplugs, checking out videos, best two things that you can do. And the rest of the tips are definitely things inside of the park to kind of help you just survive the night. That will be it for our tips and tricks on the Scaredy-Cat's guide here to Halloween Horror Nights 2023. A lot of information, as I already stated, and some definitely big tips that I was trying to point out to you there. That being said, this was not an update video. That will be coming either tomorrow or the day after. Again, I think it's going to be insane with the updates tomorrow, just because they're closing the park at 7, which makes me feel like they're going to be revamping a lot. And we're also 10 days away from opening night. And we are 1 week actually away from team member previews for Halloween Horror Nights. So there is a lot that is going on in 1 week, and they have a lot of finishing touches that they do need to kind of finalize here. So be expecting a lot of updates here in the next week or so. And if you do want to see those, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Turn that bell notification on because we will be releasing a lot of videos over the next 2 weeks for sure. Either way, thank you for hanging out with us today. Hopefully that helped you out, and hopefully we'll see you in the fog.